Hello, and welcome to your Saturn series. It is my honor to be coming to you guys today to talk to you about the planet Saturn in astrology. And what do you know? Here Saturn is right here. Oh, shoot. Hello, Saturn. So, yes, we have a hieroglyph. I don't know really what we would call this, but my little planet Saturn is with us here. So of course, I'm going to have a little intro video in the beginning of all these. Let's make sure I'm, Saturn material. And let me tell you, before these videos, woo, I can feel the Saturn energy. Like, I guess we'll just get talking about it, guys. So, well, just a little fun fact. I am actually, I would say, a pretty important advocate of Saturn because I have a Capricorn rising, so that makes me very Saturnian ruled. And also, I'm just going to mute my computer so we don't have any distractions. And I have Saturn on my sun. So in astrology, sometimes we will have planets conjunct certain signs, right? And so for me, I was just lucky enough to be born with my sun in Pisces at 14 degrees. And what do you know? Saturn at 14 degrees Pisces as well. So I just couldn't let Saturn change signs without me talking about how just fabulous he is, right, guys? So this is some channeled messages. I'm just going to be channeling today. I have some notes here, though. I do have some notes just so everything can stay structured and timely and things like that. So let's get into a little bit about what Saturn represents and stands for in astrology, and then we can get into what Saturn's most recent shift into Capricorn is going to be affecting you personally by your sign, your astrology sign. So Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, right? Capricorn is the 10th house in astrology. So that has everything to do with our career, our legacies, our long distance goals. So I would say when it comes to career and when it comes to our long distance goals and when it comes to our legacies, that's a very serious, part of the chart. The 10th house is also our midheaven. So our midheaven in astrology is symbolic for, well, our career, of course, but more so the direction in life that we need to go. Okay, so it's interesting to compare the midheaven to the north node because the midheaven is kind of like a mini north node in our astrology charts. And according to the midheaven, you can determine what your astrological boss is because the 10th house is the house of bosses and authority figures. So when we talk about the 10th house, you guys, we're also talking about Saturn. We're also talking about Capricorn. These energies all go together. They all bounce from each other, So when we think of Capricorn and we think of the mountain goat and the sea goat and how ambitious these signs are, Capricorn is actually one of the most misunderstood zodiac signs. They're very, very mysterious. Very, very mysterious. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they're ruled by such an interesting planet. And it's not only interesting, it's just everybody wants to avoid Saturn. Like, it's not nothing to play around with. Saturn gets a bad rep. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys in these videos. And this is just my opinion. There's a lot of different, oh yeah, I got my little Saturn necklace, you guys, if anybody just saw that. I wanted to really make this symbolic for us here today. So, as I was saying, I'm going to do my best to interpret Saturn. And, since I have Saturn on my sun and since I have a Capricorn rising, I'm very, very Saturnian ruled, and I'm going to do my best to explain the good, explain the bad, explain the pretty, the ugly, and everything in between. So, Saturn. We haven't even talked about the fact that Saturn is the lord of karma. Okay, so Saturn, when I think of Saturn, I think about karma. And it's interesting that Saturn has these rings, right, that go around it because what goes around comes around, right? And that is a famous saying that is related to karma. So, it's basically you reap what you sow, you know what I mean? And I'm a very, very advocate for that. I very much believe in that people, get what they deserve, whether it be good or bad. So yes, Lord of Karma, Saturn is, I like to think of Saturn as a military dad. So, and not just a military dad, but a very serious father figure, right? Saturn is a very serious planet. Everything has to be serious. Everything has to be constricted. So serious that I'm gonna put this incense out after I let you guys have a little bit of the energy, I guess. But yeah, anything like that. Like, for instance, when I first started to sit down to record these videos, my computer was updating. And I hate when my computer does that because it takes so long and I'm just on a time limit today. So I just sat here for, oh my God, it took so long for my computer to update. And it was so funny to me because I'm like, Saturn, what you doing, man? What are you doing? Like, I'm trying to record your videos, So, yeah, I felt that was kind of, I think everything's a sign. So that was just kind of funny, to go through that. So yes, very serious planet that rules restrictions. Saturn is all about limitations. Okay, these are the more harsher terms. Saturn is about rules, regulations, doing everything in a timely manner, right? Saturn, it's like amazing. Like, and if you think of Saturn, and then Capricorns are Saturnian ruled people. So, the Capricorns I know, very hardworking. I'm like, how did you clean your house, go to work, pick up your dog, mow the lawn, solve world hunger, and you look fabulous? Like, how do you do that? So, shout out to the Capricorns watching. It's your energy. And, I'm a Capricorn rising, so my spirit is Capricorn, and I come off like a Capricorn, but I'm a Pisces. So, that's just an energy there. But Capricorn sun signs, they work really hard, very ambitious people, all about their goals, and actually they're a lot about respect as well, right? So when you think of Saturn as well, you have to think of respect and authority, So when it comes to authority figures, which is anybody in a uniform, the military, police officers, anything like that, that would be a Saturnian ruled figure. And I think of Saturn as a military dad, to the point where you could clean your room spick and span, and Saturn will wipe his finger on the desk and see just a little bit of dirt. I actually do have dirt on my desk, so sorry, Saturn, but he'll be like, you do it again. It wasn't right. You did it 30 seconds later than I wanted. That's not right. Now, let's get in a little bit before my intro ends here. I wanted to end it on a more positive note, because Saturn, when you think of, and I know there's some of you watching who actually did grow up, some of us had authoritarian parents. I had an Aquarius mom, and that's so ironic because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn also rules Capricorn. So I guess, guys, when we're talking about these videos, when we're listening to this video, when we're hearing these messages today, we want to think about Aquarius and Capricorn, right? So it's interesting that Saturn is most at home in the 10th house, legacy, career, long-term goals, and also in the 11th house, which is groups of people, right? There is karma involved in groups of people, our community, our humanitarian, what we do to serve our community and the groups of people we associate with. So there is karma involved in that as well. So as I was saying, some of you who are watching, you may have grown up with an authoritarian parent. And this doesn't have to be a Capricorn or Aquarius. This could be any parent, because we all have different energy, right? This could be any parent that was just really strict. So I think strict is a good word to call Saturn. So I'm going to put that here just so I can remember that. Strict. Saturn is really strict. And okay, we're going to get into the more positive here, because where I was going with that is that, at the time when all these people are hard on us and, oh, clean it twice and don't do this and don't do that and don't do this, at the time it fucking sucks. We grow to hate these people. Saturn is a pretty hated planet, unfortunately. But throughout life, we find ourselves oddly thanking these people, right? And we hate it. We hate to admit that. But it's the people who showed us structure, the people who showed us limitations and responsibility and hard work ethic. It's like going to the military when you're talking about Saturn. And it's because Saturn symbolizes, and Saturn is aware of what you do now is going to come back around to you. So if you put in the hard work now, if you're responsible now, if you work hard now, whatever you do now, it's important because it's your then. Your now is your then. Your now is your later. And that's a very Saturnian energy. So it's important, that we have these energies, because a lot of planets, and I have to say it, Neptune is one of those planets that don't really have this kind of energy. Neptune's like, chill. It'll happen when it happens, like, just do it whatever you want. It's okay that you were an hour late. It was meant to be, like water signs and water planets are, I would say, they lack boundaries. Okay, I love water. I'm a water sign. I love water. I'm all about water. But water takes the shape of its container, right? Water takes the shape of its container. And that's my little water spell that I did for the Cancer moon there. But yeah, water if you pour water into a square container, the water is going to look square, right? Water is also reflecting. So, that's a whole different story there. That's my little joke there to tell you that there's some planets that every planet, here's how I'll say this. Every planet has its duty. Every planet has its job and its position and everything like that. It has what it stands for. Every planet is symbolic for something, right? Neptune, the dream world, fantasy, illusion sometimes, Well, Saturn is actually the opposite of what you would think when you think Jupiter. And that's interesting because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius comes right before Capricorn. So Jupiter, and even the symbols, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see the symbol it's kind of dark, so I won't show it there. But just go ahead and look up the Saturn symbol, and then you can look at the Jupiter symbol, and they're kind of inverted, like it's to show you how opposite these signs are. So Jupiter is basically the opposite of the planet Saturn. Jupiter is all about expanding. It's all about making, it's the biggest planet in our solar system. So it's about expansion. It's about the higher knowledge of things, the deeper meaning, broadening your intellect and your philosophy, your teaching, learning, all that kind of stuff right there. And I'm talking about that because Saturn just got out of Sagittarius. So, Saturn being in Sagittarius, that was a very oxymoron. That was a really push and pull energy because, well, I think Saturn, I can channel Saturn, and I feel like Saturn for the past 3 years actually took a break. Like, deuces, you guys can handle your own karma. I'm going in Sagittarius where I'm going to party and put my feet up. But when I come back in 2008, if you didn't do the things that I taught you, Saturn in Scorpio, if you didn't do the things I taught you, Saturn in Libra, boy, am I going to come down hard on you. And Saturn in Capricorn, this is home, okay? Saturn is home. He's in Capricorn. And it's interesting because in 3 years, when Saturn moves into Aquarius, Saturn is home. I would say Saturn is more home in Capricorn. This grounded, quick, on its feet energy. Capricorns, they don't care. They don't have, I'm not saying Capricorns don't feel, but they don't feel as much as a water sign does. Because let me tell you, sometimes if I don't feel good enough to do something, my Capricorn rising completely gets thrown to the side. It's like, I don't feel like it. The energy today is just a little bit rough. I don't really feel like it. And then that's my emotions. I make emotional decisions. Now, Saturn is at home in the sign of Capricorn and Aquarius because those signs get shit done. They're responsible. Aquarius they're very futuristic thinking signs. So Saturn's all about your long-term goals. So it likes Aquarius. Aquarius thinks about the future. Aquarius is the star card where you're pouring from this end and you're pouring from that end. And it's interesting that Capricorn is the devil card, so that's a whole different story. I might have to do an entirely different video. Actually, I am doing kind of I'm going to be talking about the devil card and the real meaning of the devil card before Capricorn season ends. I'm going to do that a little bit towards the end of Capricorn season. That way I have a lot of energy to work with. But yeah, guys, Saturn. Okay, this is my intro video, trying to make it as structured as I can, but at the same time, I'm a Pisces, Taurus, Capricorn mix. So, this is just me being real. So I hope you're learning, and yeah, I think you'll learn more in the videos that are about your personal sign. So restrictions, limitations, boundaries. Well, but I would say boundaries is more of the positive side, right? That's why I went into that detail about water taking the shape of its glass, because water can lack boundaries sometimes. Water actually needs a foundation to have a shape, right? Water shapes us in astrology. So, you know, the good part about Saturn is that it teaches us self-control. It teaches us boundaries and limits and structure. You know, we do need those things in life, guys. So I'm glad that we have an energy in the universe that is an asshole enough to do that without caring about how we feel, right? Because sometimes we just have to get things done. This is our karma we're talking about here. When we're done with this realm, you know, we carry that with us. So Saturn is actually an energy that stays with us. Like, what do you think about this come around, go around thing? I love cycles. So Saturn works in a cycle, and it's a cycle that you create before, during, and after life. So Saturn's an energy. I feel like Saturn might be the first energy that you see when you pass on. Like, what'd you do? What'd you do with your life on Earth, huh? Did you do this? Did you do that? How long did it take you? Oh, well, you know that you're gonna have, like, the reason Saturn is so serious is because he knows that whatever you did, you will face again. So you want to just be woke. You wanna pay attention to the things that are going on around this time. You know, the karma that you're producing and designing for yourself, because we're all responsible for our own karma. And then we can get into the whole story about how you can actually affect other people's karma, which is, ooh, the karma for that is a beast. So Saturn is a very, very, very interesting energy, and I'm honored to talk to you guys today about what Saturn is going to be doing. So responsibilities, commitments, authority figures, teachers. It's a masculine energy, so Saturn actually rules our fathers. Saturn is discipline, and we talked about Saturn being rules and regulation. So that is all the hard facts about Saturn. I really just kind of want to, I have notes as well for the videos that I'll be doing for your guys' personal signs. I do want to channel a bit more though. I don't really like this structured energy, you know. It makes me feel like, okay, let's check that off, when really I just do better when I flow. Okay, so just hang in there with me, guys. You're gonna feel the Saturnian energy in me a little bit, but you're also gonna see it in that creative Pisces way, and then I'm gonna ground everything with my Taurus moon. Okay, so this is my Saturn series. My intro video is way longer than what I wanted it to be. Sorry, Saturn. All right, so just learn through me that Saturn low-key secretly understands that nothing's perfect, right? Perfection is Virgo, right? Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign. Perfection is Virgo. So Capricorn secretly knows that things can't always be perfect, guys. Okay, it's just about doing your best. Okay, it's about doing your absolute best. Work hard, play hard, things like that. The balance between work and play. It's about it's about taking yourself seriously. Okay, that's what this energy is about. So as long as you do that, and if you don't fall into that, oh, I'm not good enough, I didn't do that good enough, trust me, I'm already doing it. You know, it is what it is. You know, I need the material first. So keep this in mind, guys, that when you're doing a project or when you're doing anything that needs structure or boundaries or things like that, get it there first, do it first, and then let Saturn come in and teach you, oh, well, this was too long. You talk too long about this, that. Saturn will let you know everything that is not up to par. Okay, so let's get into your personal readings, and we will see what Saturn is doing in your astrology sign. All right, guys, I'll see you in the other videos. See ya. Hey, Scorpio, I'm here today to talk to you about Saturn. And Saturn has recently shifted into your guys' third house of communication. So we talked a little bit about in the intro video how Saturn rules karma and boundaries, limits, responsibilities, all those kind of things, military figures, authority figures. Saturn is the Lord of Karma. So the Lord of Karma has moved into your guys' third house. Now, the third house has everything to do with communication. The third house on the zodiac wheel is Gemini. So it has everything to do with the lower mind as well. Gemini symbolizes the lower mind. where Mercury resides. Now, it's very interesting that I chose to talk to you about that in the beginning of your video, because Mercury has very recently, today on the 11th, shifted into your third house. See, Capricorn is your third house, Scorpio. So when we think of the way that Scorpio communicates, it's usually very grounded, I would say, because your third house is Capricorn, and Capricorn is a very ambitious and serious, grounded figure, right? So your third house of communication on the wheel is naturally more serious. So Scorpio, you know, this could increase the serious talks that you may have with people. Saturn in the third house can make it difficult to communicate as well. So Saturn is here for the next 3 years, you guys. Saturn is at home in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's very comfortable here in this energy. It's going to have a very potent influence. All right, and speaking of potent, the moon is actually in late degree Scorpio. So I definitely feel your energy very heavily today. Very mysterious, interesting, intimate, kind of secretive energies. So I think that we'll have a very good discussion here today. A lot of Scorpio energy. And as far as your third house goes, Scorpio, you know, as I was saying, it can become a little bit difficult to communicate, especially communicating your feelings, communicating, I would say, since Saturn has everything to do with boundaries and limits, then, you know, Scorpio, for the next 3 years, you could experience a little bit of restriction in your third house. This could actually, it could actually restrict some conversations from happening. Now, with me and my creative thought, I don't necessarily think that that's entirely a bad thing, because sometimes there are people in our lives that we communicate with or that we talk to that, you know, and I think that you'll know who I'm referring to. You know, you want to follow your own intuition, but there may be certain people that you don't no longer wish to have communication with. There may be people that you do wish to have communication with. So this is how Saturn works here. Saturn introduces you, teaches you boundaries and restrictions, limitations. And what people don't understand about Saturn, and I'll just show you Mr. Saturn here that we have on the desk here with us. You know, he shows you the boundaries in a way that he hopes that you'll break them. And Scorpio, you know, you are all about pushing boundaries, right? And I'm not sure how you are about your own personal boundaries, because you are a Scorpion. Scorpios have a lot of protection. They have the claws, they have their poisonous tail, they have their shell that protects them. You're a water sign. Now, just like I told all the other water signs, Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, water does not necessarily understand boundaries. Scorpio, I believe you and Cancer have a good understanding of boundaries, as best as water could. You know, water takes the shape of its container, so it's not always easy for water to tell someone, don't go here, don't go here. Water is welcoming, water is fluid, and it flows, and it takes the shape of anything that comes inside of it, or you know, anything like that. Water, very, you know this, Scorpio, you're a fixed water sign, right? So I believe that you have a better chance than water in other cases, like, you know, even Pisces is very boundaryless, being ruled by Neptune, you know, but you're ruled by Pluto, which is in Capricorn, your third house. Interesting. So we have a lot of build up there, Scorpio. Just know that your ruling planet Pluto is in the third house. Mars is currently still in your sign. So, you know, that can help you there. And I was just going to finish my thought there that Scorpio is ruled by Mars and is ruled by Pluto. And those two planets can be very boundary pushing. So I believe that that would help you, opposed to Cancer being ruled by the moon and Pisces being ruled by Neptune. Two planets that aren't very, you know, it's very emotional, the moon and Neptune. But Scorpio, you have that kind of benefit there. And plus you are your intensity, you know, and I've dealt with Scorpios before, or I've been around Scorpio energy, and they've taught me through their energy how to, like, I let Scorpios in rather easily sometimes because they have this kind of gift with boundaries. So I just kind of wanted to add that in there because I think that you'll do rather well. But just know that this energy, it's going to manifest in a way of speaking, right? This is the third house. So you have to understand that this is karmic communication. Now let's just take a look here at your notes, because I'm kind of just channeling here. So we talked about how Saturn in the third house can make it difficult to communicate. If you do struggle, and I don't know, Scorpio, this could be an everyday thing for you. I'm not sure. It depends on your entire birth chart. Some Scorpios may communicate just fine. Other Scorpios may have a more of a difficult time. But I know Saturn in the third house, some people who are born with Saturn in the third house, they can have difficulty communicating. And with you being a water sign, I think that it may be most difficult over the next 3 years for you to communicate your feelings and your emotions. Now let's see here. When you have Saturn in your third house, it can make you feel like your words are being criticized, or it can, because Saturn ruled people, they can come off being really criticizing, because Saturn is kind of a perfectionist, and I don't say perfectionist as in like a Virgo way, but more so as in a way that the job needs to get done, and it needs to get done right, it needs to get done on time, it needs to get done your best. So that kind of feels a little bit like perfect, right? And that's not a good word to use for Saturn. I guess the word to use for Saturn is correct. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be correct, and oftentimes perfect is correct. So very interesting energy there, and very interesting for that to play out in a way of words, because words don't really have boundaries either. What's coming to mind is the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me type of thing. So you want to create those boundaries, and make sure that you're creating them for yourself. Saturn is here to help you, and I believe in the universe, Scorpios really need this boundary here. You really need to, and this is another thing, it's good to have it in your third house. It's good to have Saturn in your third house because you can speak your boundaries. Like, hey, I don't like when you do that. Hey, I'm okay with you coming over around this time, but I really don't want you to just show up. Those are just a few examples. Or, I really don't feel, these are my boundaries. You want to communicate your boundaries. Like, this is my boundaries. This is what I do like. This is what I am, this is what I do welcome you. I don't know. It's very interesting there. And it's like I'm picking up on your energy, because it's very interesting there to communicate your boundaries. But Scorpio, it's very, very important that you're doing this around this time. For the next 3 years, there's going to be these new boundaries that Scorpio is very, very led to speaking and communicating with people. Now, I trust that you're going to be creative with this, and that you will find your own Scorpio way. You guys are very strong people. You're strong energetically. And some Scorpios who watch my channel may have difficulties with boundaries, but just know that on the zodiac wheel, you can harness the energy. You can harness that Scorpio energy, that it will help you, okay? And Saturn's here to help you as well. So what I was going to say is that Saturn rules, since Saturn is such an intense energy, right? It's ruled by Capricorn, it's also ruled by Aquarius, and those are very mysterious signs of integrity. So, just as a military figure, just as a police officer, these kind of figures, they kind of have power. It's like if you get pulled over by a police officer, that feeling that you get, well, that feeling that most people get, I should say, that kind of anxiety, that kind of fear that stirs up in you, like, oh no, my life's in another person's hands, like I could go to jail right now. Yeah, especially with all this police brutality going on. You know what I mean by the fear and the worry that can come along with authoritarian figures. So a lot of people associate Saturn with fears and worries. So, with Saturn being in your third house of communication, sometimes people with this energy can feel like their words are being criticized. Like, I don't even want to voice my opinion right now. And I feel that way right now with your video. So it's very interesting. I'm very empathic. So I could be very well in embodying what you may feel for the next 3 years. Because I do sense a little bit of anxiety. But you see, I'm voicing my boundaries right now. The words are very powerful. Our voices, our inner voice is very powerful. And honestly, now that I've voiced that to you, Scorpio, now that I say, oh, I was a little afraid, I'm a little afraid right now. I'm a little worried about my words. I do feel like my words are being criticized right now. Not necessarily by you, but by Saturn or by the energy. And I feel instantly a little bit more comfortable. So Scorpio, learn through my video right now, learn through what I'm recording right now and what I'm speaking to you, that if you're afraid, in Scorpio, you rule fears as well. The 8th house, very hidden. You are the 8th house. The 8th house is all about your intimate emotions. And Scorpio is related to fears and darkness and things like that. So I think that you are at home with this energy. You just may not be as comfortable communicating it or speaking it or enforcing it with power with your words, not your energy. This is a time where you create energy by your words. Some of you may be very good at this. So yes, fears and worries, it's almost like you need to speak your fears now. And in Scorpio, you guys are more so, in general, Scorpios usually just feel their fears. And because I don't know many Scorpios who tell me they're afraid. I actually don't know any Scorpio. No, come on now, we're all human. So I know that you must be afraid of something, Scorpio. Perhaps being seen, perhaps being vulnerable. Maybe that's the fear of a scorpionic energy. But whatever your fears may be, especially over the next 3 years, because you may develop new fears, okay? Life has changed dramatically with these energies. So you may develop new worries, you may find yourself in a new spot in life where these fears, you're afraid of things that you've never been afraid of. Like, why am I afraid to speak all of a sudden? It's interesting. I have here, as I was writing your notes a couple days ago, I was writing all these notes for my Saturn videos. And when I got to the Scorpio one, I instantly felt this energy of being called on in the class. So that's what I have here, is that the teacher has called you up in front of the class, Scorpio, for you to present. And I'm not sure what this metaphorical presentation will be about, but Saturn, the teacher, Saturn is the teacher of the planets. And he said, Scorpio, like, you're being called on. You didn't raise your hand. You're that student in the room that's like, oh no, I didn't study last night. I stayed up all night being intense. And you're just hoping and hoping and hoping the teacher doesn't call you, and then boom, your name is called. So that's the kind of energy that I feel. And we can get a lot of anxiety in front of a class, right? Some people, the number one fear in this world is public speaking. Most people would rather skydive or get on a plane than speak publicly. Isn't that interesting? So public speaking is a very big fear. Some of you may be facing that directly. Some of you may have some sort of public speech to give, even if it's at a wedding. You're going to be speaking. I'm seeing this. I'm channeling this now, and I see that Scorpio, and for the next 3 years, you're going to be pulled into these fated situations, these karmic situations, where your voice is going to be heard by many. Now, this can be a small crowd of 10. This can be a big crowd of 100. Now, I don't know. It's going to be different for all of you, but I do see you guys coming out and speaking more collectively, more karmically. Now, just know that if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to use your voice out loud, where the people who are hearing you, and you'll be able to feel that, Scorpio, that your words are karmic. It's almost as if Saturn will karmically, I don't want to say possess, but he will be working with the scorpionic throat chakra. Now, Scorpio, as a Pisces, I may be biased, but let me tell you, I've had the liberty of speaking with a few Scorpios in my lifetime. I don't have many Scorpio friends, but I can think back to some of the conversations. And I don't know if it's just because I'm a Pisces, because when Pisces and Scorpio, the 8th and the 12th house, get together, there's a lot of intense conversations. Some of the very secrets of the universe will be revealed to this Scorpio and Pisces. But my point is that you guys are very intelligent. Being the 8th house, you have the opportunity. Now, I know there's certain laws and things that you have to follow, Scorpio. We call that like a Scorpio embargo. It's like energetic, you feel like maybe you can't speak as much out about things. But for the next 3 years, Scorpio, it just so happens that you're being called. In your words, there's something that you need to speak out about, and you need to be mindful of the fear that you feel about that. Because come on, Scorpio, if you feel afraid to do something, you really want to ask yourself why. And you want to purge that energy out, because you guys are the purgers of the zodiac. There's nothing that you can't purge out. You guys are pure. So this is about speaking and communicating in a pure, focused, grounded way because of Saturn. Now, just going here with my notes, I kind of just channeled for you, Scorpio. I mean, the moon's in Scorpio, so I trust that this information will be useful to you. So you may struggle to find your words a bit. And we talk, like, that's exactly what Saturn, the negative side, you could struggle to find your words, you could be a little afraid to speak out, you could be a little intimidated by these boundaries that you need to speak. But this is very karmic situation. This is a very karmic conversation. So some of you may find yourself in within conversations over the next 3 years that are very karmic. Conversations that have been meant to have for a long, long time. And the universe was literally waiting until Scorpio had Saturn in their third house of communication, along with Mercury that moved there today. So you're going to be thinking, and Mercury is only in your third house until the end of January. Then it will move into your fourth house. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in my January videos. But as of now, you know, you really want to focus on the conversations that take place. And I trust that you'll know what I mean. You know, you may watch this video, a couple weeks go by, and you find yourself having a really deep conversation with someone. And you're like, wow, you know, this is Saturn in my third house. This is exactly what Pisces Priestess meant. You'll be able to feel it, okay, because you're a Scorpio. You'll feel this intense energy. And you'll feel, you know, this is karmic for me. And what does karmic mean? It means that it was meant to happen. It almost means that it already happened, because Saturn rules, you know, what goes around comes around, karma. So when we do something, it's almost as if we're reaping what we sow. It's almost as if it's happened before, therefore it's happening again. Now, I know that's a little interesting there, but this is karmic conversations. I do trust that Scorpio will be communicating in a karmic way. You may even be communicating karma to other people, like, hey, you really shouldn't steal that, because you know, you're going to get in trouble. It's not right to steal those things. Saturn may be using Scorpios to enforce karma on others, or to obtain Scorpio's own karma, but it's going to manifest in a way of words. It's going to manifest in a way of lower thoughts. Another thing I was thinking about you last night, Scorpio, about your reading today. Since the third house is a lower vibration, you really want to be careful of those lower thoughts, okay? As water signs, me, you, and Cancer, we can struggle with low emotional dark thoughts. So if you do find yourself in a lower vibration and you can't just shake this funk and you feel like, why am I having all these random, and it could be thoughts that don't even make sense. It's just negative. You know, you really want to decline those thoughts. Say it out loud. I decline that thought. That wasn't my thought. That was a thought of a negative force, and it has no power here. That's what I've been doing when I get random negative thoughts. I might be worrying about something, and then I just say, no, I decline that. That's not my thinking. So yeah, you just want to be careful there of that lower Mercury thought process there. So third house, Saturn, you know, you could be having a lot of serious talks, Scorpio, and this may be some very serious talks about your own boundaries, or people who have crossed boundaries with you, or you may be setting new boundaries. Also, you want to be careful, because since people who don't know how to use Saturn's energy, sometimes Saturn will restrict those people the most. Like, oh, okay, you don't want to be woke? You don't want to know what Saturn is about? Well, I'm just going to restrict the hell out of you. You don't know that Saturn's in your third house, so I'm just going to make you not feel like you don't have a voice. I'm going to make you worry and fear this, and I'm going to restrict deep conversations. So Scorpio, please, 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 please study these energies and welcome these energies in, because I would hate for any deep conversations that were karmic for you. These are conversations, Scorpio, over the next 3 years that could potentially change your life. Sometimes all we need to do is break the boundary that we feel. Do you ever want to talk to someone, but you're insecure, or you're afraid, or you don't know what to say, you're overthinking it, and you're worried about it, so that you just don't even wind up texting? Or now this could be very much text conversations, emails. This doesn't have to be exactly your words. It could be any way that this can play out. Anyway, this could be actual speaking conversations. This could be on the phone. This could be text. This can be emails. It can be anything, but it's you expressing your words in a karmic way, in a fated way. You are meant to say these things. You are meant to communicate in this way. And I would hate for Saturn to restrict any of these deep conversations, you know, and Saturn can do that secretly. So you want to be careful. And you want to just say to the universe, you know, I know that Saturn's in my third house, universe, and I'm open to any karmic conversations that you think I need to have. I'm open to any karmic communication that needs to take place in my life, because we all want to move forward right on our path. So I did write here that there may be some restriction with deep conversations, but these are deep conversations that need to happen, Scorpio, so be careful. Now, since Saturn rules fathers and teachers and authority, you could very well be communicating with your father. Now, for some reason, I'm thinking some of your fathers may be passed away. Do not underestimate the communication beyond spirit. Some of you, maybe if your father is no longer here, you could be communicating with your father through prayer or through meditation or through energetic intent. Others of you who are blessed enough to have your father still on earth, you could be communicating with your father. Now, this could be communicating boundaries with your father. Like, look, Dad, I don't like when you do that. Or, just use your intuition, Scorpio. But I do have the note. This is just general. So talking with your father or talking with a teacher figure or a police officer or anyone in uniform or anyone in authority. You could also be doing the talking. You could be the one in the uniform talking as a police officer, talking as a father. Some of you may be a police officer that visits a school and you have to talk to these young children about, hey kids, you do this and you might wind up in jail. I'm not sure, guys. Some of you could be teachers and may all of a sudden feel a little bit of insecurity about your lessons. Just know that it's Saturn. Saturn is a very serious planet that has shifted. So everyone's a little weirded out right now, especially those who aren't really aware of astrology. They're wondering, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this intense energy? Well, it's because Saturn is a very serious planet to shift. It doesn't shift for 3 years. That's a long time. Saturn moves very slowly. So the fact that Saturn moved very slowly, these 3 years, we can just get used to this energy. We got very used to Saturn being in Sagittarius. So, some of us just kind of went to sleep and we just thought karma would always be this way. No, it has shifted. And when karma shifts, we feel it. We're like, oh, all right. Like we're all here because of karma. We create our own karma. That's what I believe. And Saturn was in your second house. And I'm sure some of you felt that. For the last 3 years, if any of you felt restricted financially, if you felt restricted in your job, then that was Saturn in your second house. I think we should celebrate for you, Scorpio, now that you can finally expand your finances, especially because Jupiter is in your first house. Please use that energy. You are very lucky to have Jupiter in your sign. Good luck and good fortune with Jupiter there. So your second house has been left alone by Saturn. But your third house now it's all about communicating what Saturn taught you about your values and your finances. The second house is opposite of you. You're the eighth house, and the second house is Taurus. And this is more so 3 years ago, for the last 3 years, okay? You want to communicate what Saturn taught you about your own personal values. You could very well be communicating those values now, because once we find out our values, then we can place our own boundaries. Sometimes we cross our own boundaries, and it's going to be up to you to kind of determine which boundaries you should set and which boundaries you should break, okay? Okay, let's see here. So you could be speaking with authority, and that could manifest in a way of you could be speaking with authority figures, or you could just be speaking with authority. I'm a Scorpio, and this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and there's no feelings involved here. Us water signs, we may have a little bit of a harder time with this energy, but maybe not. Some of us water signs are just going to pour ourselves into this energy and become. Saturn, I believe, likes water signs because he can really utilize, with them, the water signs who are open and embracive, that is. So speak with authority, communicate your boundaries, Scorpio. This is also karma that has to do with the light and the dark, since Gemini is the third house and Gemini is the twins. In Scorpio, you have everything to do with the light and the dark as well. So I feel that there's some similarities here as far as fears and worries and Scorpio ruling that. Very interesting that Mercury has just shifted into your third house. So you're going to be thinking and you're going to be communicating in a way. This energy is very much lined up for you. And another thing here that I have, your last little note here is careful observation. So that's what I'm going to leave you with, Scorpio, that make sure that you're carefully observing. And I think that you guys are always those silent observers in the shadows, observing things about people, whereas someone else could look at a person and maybe miss a few details when it comes to their inner soul. But Scorpio, you can look at a person and know, wow, that person has done some really fucked up things in their life, and they carry it in their eyes. Scorpio is really deep like that. So you make sure that you utilize that kind of energy through this transit. Okay, and this was very general, you guys. If this confused you or if it didn't really help you, I encourage you to research Saturn in the third house. This is what I did to find your notes, and then most of it was channeled. But this information is out there. You can just Google, you can search, search in YouTube videos, Saturn in the third house. You may find information that is more helpful to you. This is just my way of communicating Saturn to you today. Very general. This could manifest in different ways. Another thing you could research to understand this transit is Saturn in Gemini, because that is also Saturn in the third house. And also, you can always contact me. I'll have my email and my Facebook, social media, all that listed below. And, you know, I'm not a celebrity or anything. I'm not too good to message you guys back. So do comment below any questions or anything like that. And I'd be happy to talk with you guys, especially because you guys have, you know, Saturn in your third house. Maybe we're meant to talk, guys. Maybe some of that karmic communication can happen here on this channel. So if you feel the need to reach out to me, please do so. Hope you enjoyed the video, Scorpio, and I will talk to you very soon in your January videos, all right? See you later.